Welcome everybody to Project You, Project Me, the FTG guide to self-belief and self-coaching. Why not come along and listen to people like you, people like me, leaving legacies for your future. So welcome everybody to Project You, Project Me. It's the 16th podcast of the Forces Transition Group. And today we've got the brilliant Meg Vella, who's been part of what we've been doing for a little while now. Welcome, Meg.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problems. It's fantastic. And, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about your success and stuff like
Yep.
that. So great to hear as we go into a very sunny and nice and hot weekend. So we always start with a little bit about yourself, Meg. So people want to know who you are, where you've been, what you do, all that kind of good stuff. So just tell me a little bit about Meg first.
Okay. Well, I've been in the Royal Signals now for coming up to 14 years. I've been posted Germany, all around the UK, done a variety of jobs, you know how it is. And I have decided that it's time for a career change. After having a good footballing career in the forces as well. I've had a good up and down career, if that makes sense. It's been highs and lows,
Yeah.
but I'm ready for a new chapter now.
Yeah, and it's about to come, isn't it? So
It
um,
is.
when we're kind of trying to make relevant where you're about to go, what was it your job in the Royal Signals?
So, well, since they changed all the job specs, I'm now a network engineer.
Networking.
Previously I was a communication systems engineer. So they're very similar in obviously what I do day to day,
Yeah.
but transferring those job specs or those job titles into a civilian aspect, it's very different. So essentially I'm just a technician really.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's important. It's important for people to know. And a little bit, I think you underplayed the footballer piece because you were playing for some decent football teams, weren't you, alongside being in the Royal Signals football team?
Yeah. So I've played in a team since I was 6, and I was in the under nines, I think, ahead of my time. I had to just train for a year because I was too young. And then I've followed football ever since. I've been at Forest, County, Swindon, Bournemouth, Southampton. I represented the Signals, Army, Combined Services. So yeah, I would say I am happily retired now.
Well, we won't get into sport and things like that too much, but it's one of the things that keeps people in.
Yeah.
Certainly my career, although I enjoyed being in the military, I probably wouldn't have stayed for 20 odd years if I didn't have all my sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's what's been missing the last few years for me. I obviously stopped playing around 2016 after me and my wife decided to go through IVF.
Yeah.
So that transition into, being pregnant and then being a mum, it took
Yeah.
a lot out of me as well. Back, knees, they've just not been the same. But yeah, I think not having that to look forward to break up that work cycle has definitely affected me in some way.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, actually.
Yeah.
That's it's some good food for thought for people there, and for people who are in the military to make sure that sport, something else, something different, something to look forward to is always there.
Yeah, 100%.
We promote it, don't we, in our adverts, but whether it actually happens or not,
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
we'll leave that to commanders, eh? But tell me a little bit about your transition. So you're currently in the transition or coming out of the transition, whatever, however you want to call it, leaving the military.
Yeah.
And we look at the sleepwalker versus the hunter, how you actually got on in the transition. What was the military like whilst you were transitioning or you're going through it? What effect did you see that maybe your peers were having on you, or were you getting good help? Were you getting bad help? Just give me a little bit of a picture of how your transition kind of, came about.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually the third time that I've signed off. The first time I won't count because my mother-in-law got sick and sadly passed away. That took up 7 months of that time.
Sorry, yeah.
Last year I signed off in the January and signed back on in the July.
Right.
And I'll hand on my heart say it was because the reason I had to sign back on is because I was a sleepwalker. I just thought, I'm in a great trade, being signals, worked on a lot of comms equipment, seen a lot of things, worked with various different people, etc. And I thought, yeah, I'll walk into a job, but I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And that was the problem. I didn't plan. I didn't, think, oh, I'm going to be moving out of my house. How is that going to work? Because we haven't got a house, etc. All of that. So I was like, no, my anxiety went right through the roof.
Mhm.
And for pretty much 90% of last year, I was a mess completely. And it got to the start of this year, and I was speaking to a good friend of mine. She had just signed off. Not just, she had a couple of months left.
Yeah.
And she mentioned a company called Alchemist
Hmm.
and a job role. And I was like, that's very interesting. So did some research into it, etc. And thought, do you know what? I'm just going to sign off. I'm going to do it. This is what I want to do. And yeah, I only signed off, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
29th of March. So no, not even 3 months, is it? No, just over 2 months. And in that time, it's the difference between last year to this year is ridiculous. My mindset is so much better. The help I've received from the likes of yourself has really driven me to make this happen. And I know that the army's just not for me anymore, and it's had a real impact in my mental health, and I knew I had to change it.
Yeah.
And it's something that me and my wife spoke about plenty of times. I was just coming back from work,
Hmm.
just so unhappy, and I knew I needed to make that change. So I did, and work have been great. They're giving me time to do courses,
Uh-huh.
which is good because I know I've seen people literally 7-8 months into their
Yeah.
NTT, and they've got nowhere, and they've not asked, they've not been, can I go and do this, can I go and do that?
Yeah.
And yeah, luckily my work fine, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to hear. So effectively, the theory about you have to get a job in the last 3 months is a load of rubbish.
Well, 100%, because I've got one, and I've still got 8-9 months to go, however long it is, till next March. So I've got a job already.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what a difference to your life that makes as well, because actually,
Yeah.
because you understood the transition,
Mm.
because you've had a bit of, I would say, very, very small amount of guidance, it's actually driven you, which is the words you've used, and you've ultimately been successful very quickly. And alchemists are, I know you went a separate way to what we do, but alchemists are one of our partners,
Yeah.
and they are taking quite a lot of people from the military, and rightly so, and nice and early, because they've actually got a pipeline to fill as well.
Yeah.
So, speaking to alchemists, they were looking for around about 30 top class individuals, just like yourself, over a period of 12 to 18 months. And
Yeah.
that's fantastic for service people.
Oh,
If
100%.
people where you are, in the
Yeah.
position you are, where you're thinking it's not for me, but mental health suffering, next 9 months is what a great time for you. Although
Yeah, pretty much.
I suspect you won't sit on your laurels, but if the contract's there, which it is, and everything's ready to go, then life's good, eh?
Yeah, well, the contract's signed, sealed, delivered. That part's all done. Um, I'll get a tech pack sent to me a couple of weeks before I start, etc. And it's such a weight off your shoulders knowing that you've secured that job.
Yeah.
So now all we've got to focus on is a housing situation, which, believe it or not, there's plenty out there. So even if we can't buy straight away, we can rent, or there's other options. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely something that last year I was really struggling with.
Hmm.
But compared to this year, I seeked the help I needed last year. And yeah, the difference for this year, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, I mean, the housing piece we won't go too much on, but we have just struck up a really good partnership to be with a company or some people, ex-forces, who basically buy the house for you,
Yeah, I think I've
and
seen
then
that. Yeah.
you rent it off them for 2 years. But once you've created that money, I think there's a small fee to pay, 10 grand or whatever, smaller
Yeah.
than the percent usual,
Yeah. Yeah.
5-10% or whatever. And then in the 2 years they hand you the house over because you're on the
Ah,
market then. So
yeah.
we can talk offline about that, but we've been having a few talks with them to see how that works.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's really exciting, and I know I can remember when you told me and you put your post out there, and the amount of people that came through, it's fantastic. So it
Yeah.
makes you feel great, and as a family, you just must feel brilliant. But
Yeah.
you went to, just before we touch on the Project You, Project Me document or booklet and stuff like that, you came to one of our live shows as well, didn't you? Where it's not a job fair. It's a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
different to that. How did you find that?
I think because I already knew the direction I wanted to go in with Alchemist, I went with an open mind anyway, because you never know what's going to be. You never know who was going to be there. And I did actually have a briefing off CXC because they did really catch my eye as well. But another thing is, like, my CV was already nailed down at that point as well. But I just went with an open mind, thinking, well, there's nothing stopping me from going and just seeing what else is out there. Yes, I kind of have an idea what I want to do, but I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, kind of thing. And I think that day was brilliant for everyone that attended. It was such an insight into all these different companies that were there. We had a chance to speak to them. Every single one of them made the effort. They were really friendly, just brilliant employers. So I think that day is brilliant. And I think I mentioned it to you on the day, actually. I think I would prefer those kind of days to be made mandatory in the resettlement instead of, or alongside the CTWs, because I feel like that day was more beneficial than a CTW is. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a clear insight of what employers are looking for. You obviously go through the CV piece as well, which my feelings on that. It's amazing. Really, really, really helped me, and I can't thank you enough for that. So, but yeah, those days are brilliant days.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
fantastic. It's fantastic to hear. CXC, another one of the companies
yeah,
that are taking lots of people as well, and
yeah,
fantastic people working within that arena as well. That's
yeah,
fantastic. Well, thank you for that. I think the question set at the end actually of the live show relates to what you're saying. One of the questions was, how early do I start applying for a job?
yeah.
And every single employer stood there because they were
Now,
fit to stand there and said, right now,
yeah,
we will take you 12 months, 9 months,
yeah,
whatever. Which is kind of proof in the pudding because we can say it all the
yeah,
time, can't we? But if
yeah,
the people at the coalface giving the jobs out are saying it, that's
yeah,
what.
exactly.
Have
And I
you been?
think it
You say
was that
it.
it
Go
was
on.
that spurred me on.
Yeah,
And speaking to someone that I was in contact with at Alchemist, to think, yeah, I'm just going to do it now
yeah,
and see what comes of it.
yeah. And guess what happened?
Yeah, exactly. I got the job. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
have you actually done? I imagine you've been on CTW. You've signed off a couple of times, but have you been on it again now?
No, it's not mandatory anymore, which is good in my
Ah,
opinion, because um especially knowing now I have a job, I don't feel it's a necessity for me to do it, if that makes sense. I think I personally believe what you guys do at the FTG is more beneficial, and it helped me a lot more than what the CTW did
so when you
last
say
time.
when you say it's not mandatory, people are
You
being
don't
told
need
now
to
they
go
don't have to
now.
go on it.
Yeah, you don't need to actually go on it now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's what so I had my RAB brief 2-3 weeks ago. And it wasn't mandatory. Said it's not mandatory anymore, which It must have only recently changed because last year it was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. See,
So,
I my feelings on this is we don't really need too much of an end. Clearly, you've navigated the end very quickly. We can all
yeah,
do we can all do it very quickly. If I was to say to everybody in the military that we can do this whilst you're serving, so when you get to your last 3 months, you will have a job
yeah,
3 months later.
yeah,
That's, as you're leaving. Why do we need the 12 months? Because the ownership is about the individual. You just said you owned it. Now,
yeah,
if we give the ownership to each service person through that service, then they'll own it because we're clever people.
mm,
But if you say to people, well, when you get to the end, we'll square it away for you, then they'll wait till then.
yeah,
That's not ownership, and that's where we need a bit of a twist and things like that.
yeah.
But let's kind of, because I know that we've only got the 15, 20 minutes, the Project You, Project Me booklet, which is what
Yes.
Project You, Project Me is all about. How did you find that?
I thought it was a great read, to be honest. And a lot of it, I was thinking, yeah, I've actually been doing that all along.
Yeah.
So like the grow model or the Oscar model, for instance, it's something that I grabbed before I even signed off.
Mm.
I knew what my goal was. I knew the reality. Do I need to do some CPD to make sure I can hit the job description and just to make myself that more solid candidate? So then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, it's perfect, absolutely perfect. And there's a lot of information in there, which I'm sure over the next months, years, you'll add to and stuff. But it helped me. And then there's the networking part, which I can't stress enough to people. Get yourself on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and create that network of support around you, because the amount of people that have been in contact with me through LinkedIn, asking if I need anything, if I need any guidance,
Mm.
etc., is crazy.
Yeah.
And these are people that you've never met.
Yeah.
So it's such a fantastic platform to be a part of, LinkedIn. I really do feel quite strongly about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the beliefs I have is if you provide people or guide people through the CV and their brand, you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Military people will just go and get what they want, and that's the hunter
Yeah.
mentality. So are
Yeah.
we just wasting my time with all these extra things?
Yeah.
Everything will probably fall into place if you get them things right and you understand them. So should the time be better spent making sure those two important things, because you get a job through a CV or through your network, nothing
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
get them things right, and the rest of your life will fall into place.
Well, that's exactly how as soon as my CV was done through your help, I felt so much more confident because it's ready to go. You can deliver it to your potential employers. So as soon as I had that nailed down, a huge sigh of relief, and I knew that the hard part was done.
Was that the first CV you sent as well? One hit, one wonder.
It was, yeah,
Wow, that's a
it
pretty high
was,
percentage, yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
And you've explained some of your favorite parts there and things like that, some which you're already using, and we know people will use them because some of them are military models or we're taught them through the military. But we always finish with some people's favorite parts. Certainly mine is the golden nuggets. So if you had three, and I'm going to write these down because I always try to work out what people are saying. If you had
okay.
because you've probably got 100 top nuggets to give people when they're leaving, what would they be?
I think my first one would be trust and believe in yourself. Believe in your abilities, trust your instincts. Don't change who you are to mold someone's perfect candidate or employee. Be who you are, be yourself, and trust that that's enough, because you are enough for people.
Yeah.
You just have to find the right employers or the right kind of people to surround yourself by. And I think that's something over the last 12 to 18 months has really stood by me, is just believing myself. I am enough.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it definitely helped me. Just even sometimes for 5 minutes, I'd be sat there, I am enough. I am enough. And the more you do it, the more it, ingrains into you. Yeah, you are enough. You don't need to change for someone. So that would be my first one.
Yeah.
I think my second one would be do your research and some CPD. So since March, I've been and I mean every single day doing something, whether it's a chapter in my Security Plus or I'm reading about my future job role, or I've got like a little handbook for ISO lead auditors, information security auditors, which is going to be my future role. I'm doing something every single day. I'm not just sat back thinking, yeah, I've got a job, that's it now. I need to be switched on, and I need to make sure that when I get there, I know exactly what I'm doing. And CPD is huge to me anyway. I like learning. I'm a bit of a nerd like that. I read books. I'm always doing something. So yeah, CPD would be my second one. And my third one, I think I would say don't stress yourself out trying to secure that big pay packet. Because I know a lot of people, especially in like my kind of trade, or like the air corps or ink corps, or anyone that's got a really solid trade, REME, for example, try and fit, like they'll leave and they'll think I can get a job for 80 grand a year. And it's not a reality. It's you might get those lucky people that do, but try and secure a job that's, you know, good for you, because in civilian street you work for what you earn, and 80 grand a year jobs, you know, you're going to be working for it. And it's a lot of things squaddies aren't used to, is working 9 to 5 constantly with just half an hour lunch. So don't stress yourself out trying to get that big pay packet. Find a job that, you know, it will be comfortable for you and the family, if you've got family, and focus on something that's going to make you happy and not chase the money would be my third.
Yeah. So just looking at your points there, it's really about you. So everything has to be focused on you first.
Yeah.
To be honest with yourself, to really say to yourself, listen, I'm extraordinary, I'm exceptional, and keep telling yourself. I say that to lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't believe that. So you've got to get that belief that you are fantastic at what you do. And then once you start finding your direction, get that CPD and do something for you every day.
Yeah, 100%.
10 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be 8 hours worth of work.
No.
But it creates the mentality, and then all of a sudden you finish it with what is good for your dynamic and your family, you, whoever you are, and your family, because at that point, that's how you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
We definitely don't have to watch the big pay packet, because yes, it's out there, but people aren't watching to see if you get 80 grand.
No.
Nobody cares.
No.
What's really important is that you go forward in your life and you're happy, and your family then survives, and it starts to be a success moving forward outside of where you've just come from. You can remember all that were great, you know, heart and the good times, your bad times, all that kind of stuff. But actually, you've got a big, long amount of time ahead of you now. You want to be very happy doing that. So it's amazing to hear you say that, and I think that will really be poignant to many people. And I think you coming on the show as we finish will leave a legacy for many, many more. And this is what we're trying to achieve. It isn't about me, and it isn't about the Forces Transition Group. It's about us all.
Yeah.
And if we all get this right together in the future, this process that we're all going through now, we can get that right.
Yeah.
We can make the transition go away so that it's just a normal part of service life. When you finish, you then just move forward. And that's what we've got to be.
Definitely. I completely agree with that, because there's so many people out there where they think, oh my God, I'm getting out. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And it's something that I think that the FTG should be mentioned in the resettlement briefs. I know in mine, I took 5 minutes at the end and showed the 6 that were on our brief, the website, and kind of just gave them, you know, a heads up. And it's straight, no one knew or heard. about the FTG.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be brought in for resettlement groups, because what you're doing and what you and your team do is incredible, and it does help so many people out there. And I'm just grateful that you came into my life when you did, because you've been a great help, and I really appreciate it. So I'll be supporting the FTG along with my jumper.
Yeah, which
I should have wore it, shouldn't I? Actually,
should have wore it. Yeah,
I
should have wore it.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's really very kind of you to say all them nice words and things like that, and I hope it inspires lots of other people. But as we come to a close, again, Meg, I thank you. I know that you're busy and you've got lots and lots of stuff on, and I'm sure you want to go and have a great weekend and stuff like that with your family, and you've got to go and pick your little one up from school and stuff like that. So thank you so much from everybody, not just FTG, but for everyone that will listen to this on Spotify and on our YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. And I hope you have a great weekend. And of course, you'll stay in touch, and we'll bring you back, you know, in the future, and have a look at how you're getting on and
see where I'm at.
So thanks so much. And
no, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's fantastic. Well, you stay safe and take care.
Yeah, and you.
Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Project You, Project Me. Thanks for listening in. But remember, we have a Project You, Project Me guide to self-coaching, to self-belief, and it can all be downloaded on our website. We also do the 5 fundamentals: CVs, professional writing. We do brand, we do CPD, making sure you're going in the right direction. We're also looking at your elevation, giving you 2 times the chance to set up your interviews before your first actual interview. And also we look at your financial plan, massively important for your future, for you and your family. So why not come along? Have a look. What you got to lose? It's all free. Stay safe.